majority of pro-secession members of parliament. King Felipe VI used his Christmas address to warn the new parliament to renounce secessionist ambitions. The king insisted that a confrontation would generate discord and uncertainty in the region. It's unlikely, given the December campaign making secession the core of the election, that a victorious pro-secession bloc is going to let the matter drop outright. At the same time, some Catalan secessionist parties did give lip service to trying to make the break a more negotiated process than the previous effort was, which saw Catalonia hold a vote over Spanish objections and attempt to secede outright afterwards. Spanish officials, particularly Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy, have long rejected the idea of a negotiated exit, but their trump card of forcing a new election having failed, they may no longer feel they can just try to jail the secessionist leaders as rebels.
In 1999, Darryl W. Perry began a search for traditional values, which led him down a path to the ideas of liberty. He tells the story in A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty. Of the book, Dr. Brian Sovereign says, "Sometimes it's funny, and sometimes I think it's crazy, but it's always authentic." Find A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty by Darryl W. Perry on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, ask for A Rebel's Journey wherever books are sold, or visit arebelsjourney.com.
UPI reports federal investigators concluded the Food and Drug Administration takes too long to remove contaminated and unsafe food products from the shelves. The Inspector General of the Department of Health and Human Services issued a report Tuesday after examining 30 of 1,557 food recalls between 2012 and 2015 and found the FDA did not always evaluate health hazards and issue recalls in a timely manner. The report stated recalls were not always initiated promptly because FDA does not have adequate procedures to ensure that firms take prompt and effective action in initiating voluntary food recalls. The FDA oversees recalls of all food except meat and poultry and was given authority to issue a mandatory recall when a company fails to voluntarily recall unsafe food after being asked to do so under the Food Safety Modernization Act of 2011. The report found that companies took an average of 57 days to recall items after the FDA was made aware of potential hazards, and one recall did not begin for 303 days. It also noted the agency took 165 days to start a recall of nut butters possibly tainted with salmonella, 151 days to recall hazelnuts also suspected of salmonella contamination, 82 days to recall frozen spinach believed to contain high levels of cadmium, and 27 days to recall cooked duck eggs carrying bacteria responsible for botulism. The report noted several failings, including deficiencies in FDA's oversight of recall initiation, monitoring of recalls, and collecting and tracking recall data. FDA agreed with the assessments made in the report and said it would consider the results of the review.
For over 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals. Gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. They don't feed the banks. They're Bitcoin preferred and have removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co.
Reuters reports the U.S. holiday shopping season is on track to break sales records on the back of surging consumer confidence and increased use of mobile devices, presenting an unexpected boon for retailers and delivery companies they rely on. The holiday shopping season, a crucial period for retailers that can account for up to 40% of annual sales, brought record-breaking online and in-store spending this year of more than $800 billion, according to MasterCard Incorporated's analytics arm. Preliminary numbers show total holiday sales will exceed initial forecast from Retail Next of a 3.8% increase from last year. Package delivery companies that handle returns for retailers have benefited from booming delivery volumes in recent years, but also have had to invest billions of dollars to upgrade and expand their networks to cope as e-commerce purchases surge to new heights. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
George W. Bush may be retired from politics, but he's keeping busy with his new hobby of painting. Today, the Picasso-in-chief tweeted his latest picture, a turkey sandwich and glass of lemonade in front of the ghost of the Iraqi child that follows him everywhere. Rebecca Mira has been following the flourishing art career. He's pretty good, Rebecca.
Yeah, well, Rachel, Bush doesn't claim to be a great artist, but as he put it, not bad for an old man, huh?
Not bad at all. He says he likes painting simple things he sees in everyday life, like his dogs, that dead Iraqi child. You can see that Bush's art is improving over time. If you take a look, at first he could barely draw the Iraqi child's transparent hands, but now they look much more realistic.
Much more. You know, I'm not surprised that he's getting better. Bush practices constantly.
And Laura Bush says he's more focused than ever, locks himself away for hours at a time and won't talk to anyone while he's painting.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if history will look back on Bush as a politician or the next Rembrandt. Up next, a study found that drinking red wine once a day can help the body get hammered.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. We'll give you the toll-free call-in lines here in just a moment where you can join us and bring up whatever is on your mind. The us in studio tonight is Darryl.
And Heather.
And Chris.
And, you know, the big story earlier today from news.bitcoin.com, Ross Ulbricht's fate in the hands of the U.S. Supreme Court. Chris, for those listening who might not know who Ross Ulbricht is.
Ross Ulbricht was the alleged and charged with and found guilty of running the Silk Road, which was a voluntary marketplace on the dark web. The dark web being that 99.9% of all the web that nobody ever sees. That's on a different sort of plane of existence than the World Wide Web that we're used to seeing.
Yes.
And on the Silk Road, whoever created it and whoever was operating it did not really lay out a lot of rules. They had a few. They were, I think, said that no child pornography or anything that had to do with would cause a personal victimization.
Correct. So no weapons,
right?
Nothing that showed someone being victimized.
You could sell a fake ID, but you couldn't sell a fake ID that you stole from somebody else.
Correct.
That's sort of how that went. But on the Silk Road, there were a lot of things that a lot of people didn't agree with, like drugs.
Right.
You could buy marijuana, you could buy cocaine, you could probably buy heroin, you could buy all sorts of things on the Silk Road.
And I think it's worth noting, too, though, that even though it was dropped, he was also charged of procuring murder. And that was removed from the indictment.
No, he was never charged.
Never charged.
With that.
Yeah,
Never charged. It's something that they call...
It says he was charged, and it says the charge was removed from the indictment. Here, it's cited. Let me go to it.
That's something that is called an unfiled charge, meaning that some bureaucrat somewhere made this thing up, wrote it down on a piece of paper, and never went through the process of actually filing it as a criminal charge.
Yep. Because in all those cases, the prosecution was never able to find during their investigation that anybody was ever killed.
Correct.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't charged with that. He was charged with soliciting like a hitman or something like that.
No, he was not charged with that. He was not convicted of. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of things that you can find online.
How do you know?
No, we know about that because it was part of the initial press release that the FBI put out after they arrested Ross. They said, look, in addition to running the Silk Road, we've got these 2 or 3 examples where he called out hits and worked with hitman and worked with FBI informants posing as hitmen and all this stuff. And then when the actual charges were filed, all that stuff was absent.
Right.
Which basically would tell a court observer that, well, evidently there was not enough of a case here to make it stick. Otherwise, the prosecutor would have loved to have gone after those.
Right. And it should also be noted that the chat logs just show Dread Pirate Roberts. None of the chat logs say Ross Ulbricht.
Correct.
There were also things to where FBI agents and Secret Service agents and DEA agents had access to the actual server that the Silk Road was on, meaning that they could have completely fabricated chat logs.
Yeah,
and placed them on the server.
But back to who Ross Ulbricht is. When the noose continued to tighten around Silk Road, the FBI was in on it and a number of other government agencies. They finally concluded that Ross was the leader, known online as Dread Pirate Roberts. He was connected to the Silk Road in a coffee shop in San Francisco. He had officers, FBI agents outside watching him, and they waited for him. He didn't do it at the coffee shop. He then went to a library because it was too crowded. Went to the library, logged in, and what they did was they sort of bum rushed him, and got it before he could log off. So they had him with an open connection, connected allegedly as Dread Pirate Roberts.
One thing that's important about that coffee shop was, one of the the Secret Service or FBI people, they were logged into the site and they could see which other admins were logged in.
And that's how they knew.
Saw Dread Pirate Roberts logged off. About a minute later, Ross walked out of the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Oh, so this must be him, because otherwise it's just such a coincidence. And then logs back on. They go into the library, and there's Ross. And of course,
they got him with his laptop open because he had things Ross did, according to accounts that I've read, that would have self-destructed his laptop very quickly if they hadn't got him the way they got him.
Right. So if he would have just been running off of battery power or off of AC power with no battery, as soon as they unplugged it, then it would have died.
Right.
But of course, that's one of those Monday morning quarterback sort of things. So now to the news from today, where his legal team has filed what's called a writ of certiorari with the U.S. Supreme Court.
Before we go there, Darryl,
Yes.
why don't you cover exactly what the results of his trial were? So Ross went to trial as being charged as the kingpin of the Silk Road.
Went to trial, and his defense team was basically told, you're not allowed to actually present a defense. Some of the prosecution stuff was never able to be questioned. There was one of the agents that said that for a while they were investigating Mark Karpeles of Mt. Gox fame as possibly being Dread Pirate Roberts. And about 2 days later, the judge told the jury, disregard everything that you heard from this other federal agent.
Yeah.
Just disregard all of it, because he said something that didn't agree with what I want you to think and know.
Yeah, and a couple of the agents who were involved in this investigation were arrested because they broke the law. They stole Bitcoin.
And none of that was allowed to be mentioned during the trial because one of the investigations was, quote-unquote, still pending, even though they later found out that the investigation had ended well before the trial began. So you got two agents that are sitting in prison right now for embezzlement and extortion, and what were the other fraud, couple wire fraud charges, and then one of the guys tried to actually flee the country before having to turn himself in to prison, so he got an additional charge for that.
Yeah, one of the agents, Bridges, who is also serving 6.5 years for theft, pled guilty to extended charges in August, receiving the verdict this week. So they've even tacked on additional time for theft in that example. But the long and the short of it is, this guy was running a website. He was not censoring what people did. He allowed it to be a free market.
Correct.
Transactions were conducted exclusively in Bitcoin.
Yes.
So running a website, and you got something the government doesn't like what's going on. So what's a guy get, like 5 years, 10 years?
No, 2 life sentences plus 40.
2 life sentences plus 40. So that basically means life without parole.
Yes, and one thing that's interesting, and Heather, you mentioned the supposed murder for hire charge that he was never actually charged with or convicted of. The mandatory minimum for that charge, if he would have been convicted, maximum of like 10 years. So he's getting a lot worse of a sentence for running a website than if he did a murder for hire that people keep saying justifies the really long sentence.
Right.
It's absolutely ridiculous. But again, earlier, I believe it was actually today, the story broke today, so I'm guessing was today. article from Bitcoin.com says Ross William Ulbricht respectfully petitions for a writ of certiorari to review the judgment of the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit in the case. Read the terse beginning of a landmark plea to literally the last resort for Mr. Ulbricht. We'll explain what that writ of certiorari is and, well, what exactly are the chances here that the U.S. Supreme Court will actually hear the case. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live.
Thinking about getting into cryptocurrency but feel overwhelmed by the high price of Bitcoin? Or maybe you've used Bitcoin in the past, but were turned off by the high transaction fees and slow transfer times. It's time you looked into Dash. Dash is digital international money that you can send anywhere, anytime for less than a nickel. With Dash, your transactions can be instant and private. Dash offers a fully incentivized and decentralized peer-to-peer network where miners are rewarded for keeping the network fast, strong, and safe for its users. Start your journey at Dash.org. Since its launch in 2014, Dash has made a huge impact in the crypto world and is showing no signs of stopping. Check out Dash.org for more information about Dash and get in now on the future of cryptocurrency. Dash.org.
Cryptocurrencies are successful because of good technology. The liberty-loving voluntarists who founded Zencash in 2017 took the best tech, like zero-knowledge anonymity and decentralized autonomous organizations, and are creating a secure platform for money, messages, and media that can be sent to anyone, anywhere in the world. Zencash is a cryptocurrency dedicated to peace, anonymity, and decentralization. Find out more at zencash.com. That's zencash.com.
The Bitcoin.com wallet is a simple and powerful full-featured Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Core wallet that allows you to send and receive either currency with anyone, anywhere in the world. Download the Bitcoin.com wallet for easy and secure access to your Bitcoin Cash. It's perfect for beginners, and the Bitcoin.com wallet makes using and holding Bitcoins easy. No logins are required. The Bitcoin.com wallet is available for Android, iOS, Windows, Mac, and even Linux. Learn more at Bitcoin.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com. I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio tonight, it's Darryl.
And Heather.
And Chris.
And we're talking about the appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court from Ross Ulbricht's legal team, where they filed a petition for a writ of certiorari. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It's been a while since I've taken Latin, so I might be a little bit
We come across
off.
that word in stories like about every 3 weeks, and you'd think one of us would just be able to say, no, Darryl, that's pronounced da-da-da-da-da, but we don't.
Yeah,
so.
But it's one of those things to where sometimes Latin you pronounce every letter and sometimes you skip over like 4 of them.
I'm going to make that my New Year's resolution. I was looking for something and what it is, and it is going to be to correctly pronounce writ of that word.
Yeah.
And I will do it correctly every time.
If we're pronouncing it in actual Latin, it would not be certa anything because the C's were always hard C's. So they were pronounced as K's.
Okay. Well,
So-
I will pronounce it correctly in 2018.
So Julius Caesar, they would not have called him Julius Caesar because the J's were pronounced like an H sound, so he would have been Julius Caesar.
Okay. I'll try to order one of those salads next time.
Yeah. But anyway, a writ of certiorari orders the lower court, which upheld his conviction and sentence, to deliver its records so that the U.S. Supreme Court may review them and decide if further examination is necessary. The Supreme Court, the article here says, is a 9-member body which acts as the final arbiter in legal matters. Currently, the court has 5 members who are considered more conservative, while 4 are thought to be on the more permissive side. Neil Gorsuch recently appointed I cannot speak at all tonight.
Try again.
Appointed by President Trump, is said not to be bad on the Fourth Amendment issue on the grounds which the Ulbricht's legal defense has appealed. There's also a while to go before anything concrete can be known because the U.S. Supreme Court is under no obligation to actually hear the case or pick up the petition.
Correct.
In fact, of the roughly 7,000 or so they receive every year, they generally hear no more than about 150, which is less than 0.02%. Very often, the circuit courts are the final word in the great majority of cases, and of the appellate courts, the Second Circuit has a comparatively low reversal rate by the U.S. Supreme Court. So even if the case is ultimately heard, that is no guarantee that Ulbricht will actually see any relief. Now, before I continue
what court was that
here,
again? The one that hears the 150? The Court of Appeals?
The U.S. Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
Of Appeals? Is that like a whole separate
No, the appeals
thing?
court, you can appeal the ruling of a federal court to a federal appeals court. And then if you don't like the way the appeals court rules, then you can appeal that ruling to the U.S. Supreme Court, who then would have the right to offer an opinion as to whether to uphold or reverse the actions of the lower court.
And that's where the Ross Ulbricht thing is at the top, tippity top
This
right
is his last place to go.
This is
Correct.
the Supreme Court.
Yep. Yep.
Right. So there's a lot more to the article, and they even get into a couple of questions that are specifically asked in this writ. But I'm curious, Chris, based on your understanding of some of the more recent Supreme Court rulings, do you think that they might take this just so that they can uphold the lower court ruling?
It's a possibility. Anything's possible. And, you know,
Right. Giant meteor hitting the Earth before New Year's is possible, but not very probable.
The Supreme Court
I saw a meteor the other day.
Oh, you saw the big one, too.
Yeah.
Did
you see it?
I didn't, but I did see posts about it. It was a big one.
Yeah, it was. Craziest thing I ever saw.
The Supreme Court surprises people often, and that's been with cases that have been, pro-government and anti-government, and it's been with, more leftist courts and more right-leaning courts.
But a couple of the big rulings out of the U.S. Supreme Court over the last few years that sort of surprised me were the ones where Supreme Court said if you wish to use your right to remain silent, you have to inform the police officer verbally that you're using your rights. There was also the case, I believe, out of, I'm wanting to say L.A., but at the same time, I think it may have been Georgia, where the court upheld that if for some reason you, Chris, are removed from your home, someone else in your home who has a legal right to be there can then allow the cops inside.
Right.
So the specifics of the case were the guy that answered the door, who was one of the homeowners, said, no, you can't come in without a warrant. And they said, we don't have a warrant, but you're under arrest for disorderly conduct, and drug him away. And then the girlfriend said, oh, yeah, you can come take a look in the house. And he challenged, rightly so in my opinion, but the court upheld, nope, he wasn't there to, invoke his, you need a warrant. So they were within their rights to go in, even though he was removed under suspicious causes.
Yeah, it's, and a lot of people, a lot of more libertarian-minded people look at the Supreme Court and go, this is just an obviously rigged system, because here you have one of the three branches of the federal government whose job is to be impartial in ruling the actions of the federal government or actions between the states.
Right.
And I think they're probably more impartial in rulings between the states. And those are basically the two things that the Supreme Court does. It settles disputes that exist between states, and it acts as the final court in the federal court system. So, they've done some doozies over the year. I'm trying to think of it goes back to the Dred Scott case. There was Madison versus Marbury,
Plessy versus
Ferguson.
What was the one that upheld the internment of Japanese Americans?
That would have been Korematsu v. United States.
Yeah, that's it.
So a lot of these things have been pretty heinous, and oh God, I can't even remember what's the one. The one that basically decided that it was legal for states to perform forced sterilization of the mentally challenged.
I know the one you're talking about, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
By the way, that one's never been challenged, so that's still in effect. The government definitely has a right, if it feels you're not of right mind, to forcefully sterilize you.
Right. And again, more from this article about the Ross Ulbricht bill we will get back into. But first to the phones, actually in this case to Skype, where we've got Ricky calling in. Ricky, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Thank you there, brother Darryl. That'll be the Commonwealth, Pennsylvania there.
Go ahead with your thought, Ricky.
Well, I have recent events I had on the phone there. On the Skype, I had a challenge I put forth, and you know what? Somebody didn't accept. I'd like to get into that, please.
No, thank you. Thank you for the call. This is Free Talk Live. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE.
Want revenge on the common housefly? Well, after 10,000 years, someone has finally come up with a better way. The Bug Assault, a miniaturized shotgun, which utilizes ordinary table salt as ammunition. Non-toxic and no batteries required. So much fun, you'll forget you have a wife and kids. $39.95 and free economy shipping. Use discount code GCN and get an extra 10% off your purchase at bugassault.com. Makes the perfect stocking stuffer. Get your Bug Assault today.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today. This is...
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait on account. Now. Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me?
Because you scared me.
What
am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. So we did some digging and found out that, I was actually not confused about where a certain Supreme Court case came from, where I said it was either L.A. or Georgia, two completely different places. There were actually somewhat companion cases, one out of L.A., one out of Georgia, both dealing with the police abilities to search a premises, whether someone was present or not. The case out of California was Fernandez v. California, where Walter Fernandez told police that they could not search his house without a warrant. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that, he wasn't there, so he couldn't keep them away, even though the only reason he was no longer there when they came back is because the police had him arrested and taken down to the police station. The reason we're talking about U.S. Supreme Court cases is because Ross Ulbricht's defense team has filed a writ of certiorari with the U.S. Supreme Court asking the Supreme Court to give some kind of justice here. Now, we'll get back into the case and specifically the updates here from news.bitcoin.com, but maybe you're looking for a home security system, and maybe you want to get something that is a wire-free, like a truly wireless system delivered to your front door. Well, you can do that with the Blink Home Security System. and then you download an app to your phone. It walks you through an easy setup, and even if you've got a complicated router system and you're not the most technically inclined person, like one of the hosts of this show that has a Blink home security system, you should still be able to get it set up in about 10 to 15 minutes. And you can either get notified whenever anything moves in front of the camera, or you can just go on your phone and look at the camera whenever you want to. And have we got a deal for you? You can get 3 Blink security cameras for what the other guys charge you for 1. Visit blinkprotect.com/FTL. That's blinkprotect, all one word, blinkprotect.com/FTL, as in Free Talk Live. blinkprotect.com/FTL. Chris, what was the other case that I had referenced about the ability of police to do searches on homes? The one out of Georgia?
Somebody v. Georgia.
Randolph, I think it was.
I think you're correct. And in that case, it was a question of if you had 2 legal residents of the same home.
Or occupants.
I closed the page, so I don't know exactly how it was worded. But basically, it was this. One person says, yes, you may search without a warrant. The other legal occupant says, no, you may not. In that case, it said that the person who said, no, you may not, his rights must be respected, or their rights. Right. So in short, if anybody says no to a warrantless search,
as long as they remain at
the premises due to the case out of California, which
right.
is
So
ridiculous.
If they leave for any reason of, I need to go buy groceries, or I just got arrested for disorderly conduct because I said, no, you can't come into the house without a warrant, and they really, really wanted to come into the house. So it doesn't matter whether you're, rightly arrested or not.
So that should be chilling to anybody who respects their privacy, respects their rights that are supposed to be protected by the Fourth Amendment, that if you say no and you decide to leave, then they can just come right back in because you're not there to say no.
You're not there to say no. So back to the story here about Ross Ulbricht and the appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. Again, article from news.bitcoin.com. The author here writes, the generally agreed test for the Supreme Court to hear a writ involve cases of national significance, to establish precedents, or to put to rest existing contradictions in decisions. 4 of the justices must vote to accept the case. And this is something that I didn't know. I did not realize that it was only 4 of the 9 Supreme Court justices that had to say, let's hear this thing.
Not a majority.
And I didn't think it had to be a majority. I just didn't realize it was 4. I thought it could have been, 2 of them.
Right.
Or if the Chief Justice says, we're hearing this.
Right.
The clerks for justices are in charge of first reviewing the writ, and it is they who write a summary and recommend a hearing. Justices then take their recommendations to a conference for a final decision as to whether fully hear the case. Mr. Ulbricht's appeal focuses on 2 questions. According to the writ, question 1, whether the warrantless seizure of an individual's internet traffic information without probable cause violates the Fourth Amendment. Question 2, whether the Sixth Amendment permits judges to find the facts necessary to support an otherwise unreasonable sentence. The U.S. Constitution is odd in the sense that the bulk of the document describes what government does, its various functions, and then come the amendments to those functions. The first 10, known as the Bill of Rights, and they specifically forbid government from certain transgressions, no matter the excuse.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, when doing a trial for something like this, right? Mm-hmm. So, a lot of the evidence, for example, has to do with his computer. In fact, I'd be willing to bet most of the evidence is digital. So when doing jury selection, do they generally pick jurors that have knowledge in this stuff? Because if not, it's a foreign language to most people. Do you know what I mean? When explaining how, because what I think is how easy it is to remotely access someone's computer. And all of these things could be,
If I remember correctly, they weren't asking the potential jurors about their computer abilities.
I mean, is that an option, though? Like, when it comes to, like, jury selection on the side of the defense?
I mean, through the process of selecting a jury, and I can never remember how this, it's voir dire? Voir dire.
Something like that.
Yeah. But basically, it's Latin for to speak the truth. The prosecution and the defense can try to choose whatever types of jurors they want,
right,
based on their strategy. So in some cases, yeah, you're right. Having a whole bunch of computer experts may be really good for the prosecution, which means the defense is going to try really hard to get those people off.
But in this case, it would have been beneficial, in theory, to the defense to have jurors that knew things about computers, because then the jurors could have looked at the paperwork filed by the FBI of how they located the server in Iceland or wherever it was, and realized
and if there was a flaw. You know what I mean? Because I'm not like...
Right. So let me explain what was in this documentation from the FBI, where the FBI agent, I forget his name, but he claimed, and he never went up on the witness stand to be cross-examined about any of the claims in his document, so it was accepted as fact. But he claimed that through some sort of, basically, I just kept hitting F5 and the IP address revealed itself to me.
Just like that. Magic.
But there's no way that that happens.
Right.
There is no way that that happens. And people that know things about computers would know that there's no way that that happens.
F5 is not the reveal the secret IP address of the Silk Road key.
It's
I know, like,
refresh. But the claim was, I just kept refreshing.
Right.
It just kind of makes me wonder, like, so when you get called for jury duty and, like, the defense and stuff, so it's always so random. Like, the most random people get the little notice. Like, I've gotten it before.
Oh, yeah,
Then you have to show up to the courthouse at a certain time. Then they get to pick from that pool.
Right.
It's like, what if they don't find all the people they're looking from in that pool?
Well,
do they have to can they have the options of, like, calling more people?
There have been stories that we've covered on this show where cops just walk down Main Street and grab people and say, you're on jury duty now. You're coming with me right now. Otherwise, you go to jail right now. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. More on this, plus your calls and thoughts. 855-450 free.
Crimes of the Crown by Captain Mark. The Crown casts the world in shadow and claims to be our guiding light. Cowards clamor for security from boogeymen and ghost stories, while I say these hobgoblins are imaginary. I say those they propped up as our liberators are now subsisting on our bondage. I say there is freedom in the black, and that's exactly where we intend to go. The Crown banishes its own officers for exposing its crimes and tortures dissidents to the brink of madness. It dominates the globe and swallows the wealth of generations, leaving only blood and excrement. The Crown calls it piracy to explore frontiers beyond its grasp. So the time has come for us to define the conduct among pirates. I say the Crown has trampled our necks long enough. Need decentralized solutions to centralized problems? Looking for a community of like-minded scoundrels? Or just want some swag to let the Crown know what you think of it? Join the conversation at pirateswithoutborders.com. We won't be hard to find.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $9.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees, ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio tonight, it's Darryl.
And Heather.
And Chris.
And do you want to help build a better financial system, not just for yourself, but for everyone? Then look into Dash. Dash is digital cash. It's a digital money platform designed to replace cash and help people manage their own wealth. It's fast. It's private. It can be easy.
Darryl, you're on a roll.
The fees are low, transactions are fast, or can even be confirmed instantly. You can pay anyone, anywhere in the world, anytime for just pennies. Dash is decentralized, run by users who earn rewards for helping run the network and make governance decisions. Anyone can invest in Dash and earn rewards for helping run the network. Join Dash and help create a better financial system for everyone. Take back control over your financial future today. Find out more at dash.org. There's a lot of momentum behind Dash, so go right now to dash.org and find out why. So we're talking about the Ross Ulbricht appeal. Ross Ulbricht being the man who was convicted of being the Dread Pirate Roberts, the mastermind behind the Silk Road online marketplace. And Chris, you had explained earlier that the Silk Road was on something called the dark web. And then you said that about 99% of all internet stuff is actually on the dark web?
There is, yeah. When you look at total amount of information, much of it exists on the dark web as opposed to the World Wide Web.
I did not realize it was that much.
It's a huge, and I'm going to pull up some stats. Otherwise, I'm just,
so like all of the DARPANet stuff, that's all on dark web?
I believe so.
So when the Pentagon sends information through some sort of internet connection to CENTCOM, they're using the dark web. They're not using like AOL Instant Messenger?
So this is from Popular Science. According to a study published in Nature, Google indexes no more than 16% of the, quote, surface web and misses all of the deep web. Any given search turns up just 0.03% of the information that exists online. So there's, a tremendous amount of data that is just not visible. Some of it can be reached through the Tor network by using the Onion routing system. But yeah, much of it's just things that we don't see.
So again, the questions in the writ of certiorari filed by the Ross Ulbricht legal team. Question 1, whether the warrantless seizure of an individual's internet traffic information without probable cause violates the Fourth Amendment. Question 2, whether the Sixth Amendment permits judges to find the facts necessary to support an otherwise unreasonable sentence. The article here, again, from news.bitcoin.com, where you can actually go to find out all kinds of information, not just about Ross Ulbricht, but about Bitcoin and all other cryptocurrencies, news.bitcoin.com. The relevant portion of the Fourth Amendment under consideration reads, the rights of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause. The relevant Sixth Amendment portion reads, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy trial and public trial by an impartial jury. According to a memorandum obtained by Brian Doherty of Reason, this case presents two important questions of constitutional law with broader significance for the rights of criminal defendants generally, writes lead attorney Kanan K. Shanmugam. The quote continues, first, the Second Circuit affirmed the government's warrantless collection of Mr. Ulbricht's internet traffic information by relying on the third-party doctrine, which the court is reviewing in a different context this term in Carpenter v. United States. This case would afford the court an ideal opportunity to address how the doctrine applies to internet traffic information. Doherty explains that Shanmugam, a former law clerk at the late Justice Antonin Scalia, or to the late Justice Antonin Scalia, has argued 21 previous cases before the Supreme Court, has had at least 5 victories, and has a good record of a 36% success rate in having cert petitions granted by the court from 2012 to 2015, and a 38% success rate from 2013 to 2017, which bodes well for Ross Ulbricht. Warrantless searches are at play potentially in the case because information used against Ulbricht was gathered under that third-party doctrine. This allowed law enforcement to effectively search his IP address and personal laptop, which are presently thought to be available publicly over the internet through a modem or telecommunications company. The doctrine stems from before a time when internet service and laptops and phones were a person's everyday lifeblood, and as such is in great need of being updated. Is this information citizens are knowingly making public, or is such information assumed to be private? It's all the difference in the world. Also of grave concern is Ulbricht's sentencing itself. The memo, again, from attorney Shanmugam, says Ulbricht's sentencing guidelines range would have resulted in a recommendation or a recommended sentence of at most 30 years in prison, but the judge took into account beyond a jury accusations never proven, including murder, to assess those punishments. Doherty writes the Second Circuit in his initial appeal reluctantly affirmed, concluding that the alleged murder for hire separated the case from an ordinary drug crime. Again, something that was never actually charged and that he was never convicted of. The article concludes, for the broader cryptocurrency community, Ross Ulbricht is someone many feel a debt is owed. Silk Road, according to many, provided a safer environment for buyers and sellers of products disliked by governments. The earliest use case of Bitcoin cryptocurrency were proven viable, and it's not too far to claim valuable due to such fearless experimentation. And again, it's not just something that people feel that the Silk Road made a safer environment. There's actually statistical evidence to show that it was a safer environment.
That's interesting. I'd like to see that.
Well, the fact that you were able to rate the buyers.
Oh, no.
You know what you were getting, whereas on the street corner.
I agree completely. I'm just
It's
wondering
a crapshoot.
if somebody did some statistical analysis, looked at the numbers, and came to
I've seen it. I'll try to find it.
Yeah, we'll dig it up.
I mean, doesn't like black market stuff like still exist in a free market?
Of course.
So like all of that like fentanyl laced heroin like exists in a free market.
Well,
so all the people dying because they're buying crap.
Right, but why didn't we hear about all that stuff with Silk Road? Because that wasn't what most people were looking for. They weren't looking for a drug that would kill them, right? In most cases.
I mean, we probably didn't hear about it because it didn't end up in the news.
Well, yeah, it did. A lot of these cases ended up in the news because a lot of people got busted. The reasons that people gave for why they were using the Silk Road is I could see the seller's rating, and if the seller was getting 4-star and 5-star ratings all the time, it must be accurate. I knew how much I was getting, so I was less of a risk to overdose because I knew exactly, if it was a gram or whatever, however that stuff is measured. And I also knew the quality and the purity was good. It was what he advertised.
Was it just for drugs?
No, there were all sorts of things that were sold on the Silk Road.
There were people that were selling books.
Right,
there were people
books.
selling ebooks.
Right. All kinds of things like that. But the drugs is what made it interesting. And I want to real quickly, just because I haven't done this in a while, I want to do a book plug real quick. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the Silk Road and how it worked with Bitcoin and the story of Ross Ulbricht, I just read this not too long ago. It's called Digital Gold, and it's by Nathaniel Popper. The subtitle is Bitcoin and the Inside Story of the Misfits and Millionaires Trying to Reinvent Money. Again, Digital Gold by Nathaniel Popper. The other thing that listeners may find interesting is how many mentions there are in this book by a New York Times writer of Free Talk Live. And
that would explain why I've heard. When you were mentioning it, I was thinking, I've heard of this book before. Yep, because you were asking Ian about it. Not too long
many
ago.
people early on in the Bitcoin days were exposed to Bitcoin and the ideas of Bitcoin before it broke loose by listening to this program, this very program.
One thing that is interesting on the black market sites now, there are about 10 times as many listings as there ever were on the Silk Road. So the claim that, we've got to take down Ross and then dark web markets go away.
Didn't happen.
Wrong. There's more. Stay tuned. This is Free Talk Live, 855 450 free.
Warning. If you're drowning in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $5,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Associates now. 1-800-959-5759. We'll even show you how much money you could save. If you can't afford to pay off all your debt, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to. Call Credit Associates now for free information on how to get debt-free faster than you ever thought possible without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We depend on your success and offer a guarantee, so there's no risk. For free information, call now. 1-800-959-5759. That's 1-800-959-5759. 1-800-959-5759.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, December 28th, 2017. Silver is trading at $16.74 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,293 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 5.1 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $14,274. Antiwar.com reports, with the Spanish government's attempt to end Catalan secession by forcing a new election having failed, leading to the election of another majority of pro-secession members of parliament, King Felipe VI used his Christmas address to warn the new parliament to renounce secessionist ambitions. The king insisted that a confrontation would generate discord and uncertainty in the region. It's unlikely, given the December campaign making secession the core of the election, that a victorious pro-secession bloc is going to let the matter drop outright. At the same time, some Catalan secessionist parties did give lip service to trying to make the break a more negotiated process than the previous effort was, which saw Catalonia hold a vote over Spanish objections and attempt to secede outright afterwards. Spanish officials, particularly Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy, have long rejected the idea of a negotiated exit, but their trump card of forcing a new election having failed, they may no longer feel they can just try to jail the secessionist leaders as rebels.
In 1999, Darryl W. Perry began a search for traditional values, which led him down a path to the ideas of liberty. He tells the story in A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty. Of the book, Dr. Brian Sovereign says, sometimes it's funny, and sometimes I think it's crazy, but it's always authentic. Find A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty by Darryl W. Perry on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, ask for A Rebel's Journey wherever books are sold, or visit arebelsjourney.com.
UPI reports federal investigators concluded the Food and Drug Administration takes too long to remove contaminated and unsafe food products from the shelves. The Inspector General of the Department of Health and Human Services issued a report Tuesday after examining 30 of 1,557 food recalls between 2012 and 2015 and found the FDA did not always evaluate health hazards and issue recalls in a timely manner. The report stated recalls were not always initiated promptly because FDA does not have adequate procedures to ensure that firms take prompt and effective action in initiating voluntary food recalls. The FDA oversees recalls of all food except meat and poultry and was given authority to issue a mandatory recall when a company fails to voluntarily recall unsafe food after being asked to do so under the Food Safety Modernization Act of 2011. The report found that companies took an average of 57 days to recall items after the FDA was made aware of potential hazards, and one recall did not begin for 303 days. It also noted the agency took 165 days to start a recall of nut butters possibly tainted with salmonella, 151 days to recall hazelnuts also suspected of salmonella contamination, 82 days to recall frozen spinach believed to contain high levels of cadmium, and 27 days to recall cooked duck eggs carrying bacteria responsible for botulism. The report noted several failings, including deficiencies in FDA's oversight of recall initiation, monitoring of recalls, and collecting and tracking recall data. FDA agreed with the assessments made in the report and said it would consider the results of the review.
For over 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals. Gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. They don't feed the banks. They're Bitcoin preferred and have removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co.
Reuters reports the U.S. holiday shopping season is on track to break sales records on the back of surging consumer confidence and increased use of mobile devices, presenting an unexpected boon for retailers and delivery companies they rely on. The holiday shopping season, a crucial period for retailers that can account for up to 40% of annual sales, brought record-breaking online and in-store spending this year of more than $800 billion, according to MasterCard Incorporated's analytics arm. Preliminary numbers show total holiday sales will exceed initial forecast from Retail Next of a 3.8% increase from last year. Package delivery companies that handle returns for retailers have benefited from booming delivery volumes in recent years, but also have had to invest billions of dollars to upgrade and expand their networks to cope as e-commerce purchases surge to new heights. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
It's the Onion Radio News. A crazy man announces plans to stand in a doorway and yell at cars. This is Doyle Redland reporting. Dennis Fife, an Alhambra, California crazy man, held a press conference today to announce his intention to stand in the doorway of the office building at 2600 Kenilworth Avenue and yell at cars all day.
At approximately 9:30 a.m. on the day in question, shortly after I finish lunging at dogs, I will proceed to the front steps of the Simmons building and yell loudly for 9 hours. The screaming will be broken by a 15-minute fit of rigid catatonia, most likely in the late afternoon.
Among the topics Fife plans to address during his 9-hour rant, the ace of diamonds, bookshelves, the man trying to kill him, plastic bags in trees, Trapper John M.D., and papers everywhere. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, kicking off hour number 2. In studio tonight, it's Darryl.
And Heather.
And Chris.
And you can join us by calling toll-free 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Or by calling in on Skype like Stefan has done. Stefan, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Hi,
doing all right.
Stefan.
What's on your mind?
How you doing, man?
Hi. Not too great, but I'm still kicking.
What's wrong?
Oh, I've been having some gastrointestinal issues over the past few weeks, and I've been suffering hypoglycemia, so things have kind of slowed down a little bit.
Oh, no.
Sorry to hear that.
It's all good. But I was skimming over this article, and I looked over it. Apparently, the Oregon Court of Appeals has ruled against Christian bakers who refuse to bake a cake for a lesbian couple.
Which Court of Appeals?
The Oregon Court of Appeals.
That does not surprise me.
All right.
And this goes back to the old argument is, should we allow discrimination based on people's bigotry? And whether or not that would be considered, a good thing to do in a free society. Like, does that infringe on somebody's right to buy a cake?
Right.
This is what I hate. Is like I feel like I understand both sides to this issue. So
okay, well,
I can see in ways when it would,
let's pretend that Heather's the judge, and I'll Darryl, you can be the defense. I'll be the prosecution. Fair enough.
All
Stefan,
right.
are you okay with that?
Sure, go ahead.
This could get syndicated. It could be the Judge Heather show.
Okay.
So,
Chris, tell me why don't you want to build Darryl's cake?
I'm the prosecution, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, this gay couple came in, and quite frankly, they should not be able to discriminate. They should be required to not discriminate against anyone. And even though this baker is opposed to the idea of a lesbian wedding, or for whatever reasons, that doesn't matter. He cannot act in a discriminatory way. Therefore, he should either be forced to bake the cake, or he should be he should have to compensate the couple for their time. And
But you're the prosecutor?
I'm the prosecutor.
So aren't you supposed to be telling me? You're supposed to be telling me how they were a victim.
No, he's supposed to be saying why the baker should bake the cake.
Right. So that was my answer, that they cannot act discriminatorily towards anyone. They have to respect other people's different lifestyles, and regardless of their personal feelings, even if they're morally opposed to this, then they still need to do it. So the prosecution rests.
Miss Judge, what the attorney here has said is basically that if my client does not wish to bake this cake, that he would wind up sending in armed goons to put a gun in the face of my client and force them to bake this cake at the point of a gun. And I contend that no good or service should be provided at the barrel of a gun. That means that if my client doesn't wish to do something, no one has a legitimate right to force them to do anything. What say you, Judge?
I need a minute to review the testimony before me.
Yeah, but that's, in a nutshell, that's it. One side says that no, discrimination is wrong. And even if you feel, regardless of your personal feelings, you just absolutely cannot discriminate against someone because of race, creed, color, or religion or sexual preference.
So I will say this, that you say that one side says discrimination is wrong. I say that both sides can say it is wrong. The question is whether or not anyone should be forced to do business with someone they don't wish to do.
Correct.
Now, I would love it if I could walk down the street and see a list of businesses that don't want to do business with me for whatever reason. So if I were walking down the street and there was a sign hanging on some restaurant that said, no libertarians allowed.
Right.
All right, great. I'm not going to go in and accidentally give you any of my money.
Right.
But people aren't allowed to do that.
What if somebody that had like the monopoly on the internet was like, okay, well, we don't want anarchists or libertarians using the internet?
Well, that gets into a much broader case, but let's just talk about baking a cake.
No, I mean, this is the same concept. Like, what if somebody said we don't want, any of those free keeners to use the internet, and we have a monopoly on the internet? So are they allowed to discriminate, though?
Is that a real thing?
If it's a real situation, yes.
Well, it's not,
It's very possible that somebody could one day have a monopoly on the World Wide Web, and if they did, would they be allowed to discriminate against free keeners?
That would be pretty unlikely, but we could say that as a hypothetical.
But they would have that right?
Who?
Basically, because you think that they should be allowed to discriminate, so therefore, if somebody wanted to discriminate against,
hold on, I'm
Free
just
Talk
playing.
Live
I'm playing the role of the prosecutor. That doesn't say that's how I feel.
Okay, so then do you think that they should be made to bake the cake?
We only have this courtroom for another 30 seconds, Heather. So the question is to you.
This is where I can see the pros and cons to both sides of this issue, and that's why I won't it's just one of those things where I like to advocate that people, exercise good judgment, don't be a bully, but at the same time,
both sides are kind of being a bully.
I can see where it would, nobody wants to be forced to do something.
The only issue where I can see the other side is let's imagine you live in the middle of Wyoming in a very small town with maybe 200 people, and there's only one grocery store.
Closest place is 300 miles away.
Yeah, that's another perfect example.
And you wouldn't if they didn't want to do business with you. If you didn't have, food growing on your property, you wouldn't be able to eat. And it's not necessarily like you can just get up and leave. That requires a lot of money to do.
But would that then require the government to step in and say, we require you to sell groceries to these people?
It may or it may not. As said, that's one of the few issues where I'm very torn, because on one side, it's yes, I like to stick to my principles almost all the time. But is it, it's just this moral, dilemma you go through.
Right. Yeah, and people gave Gary Johnson crap for the whole cake baking thing. But I think Gary Johnson saw it from a very kind position where he wasn't thinking, oh, well, I want to have power over you and make you do things. No, he was thinking the person that wants to get food from somewhere, and there's only one place to get it, and this
and
jerk that runs the store wants to sit on his
throne. The bakery here was not the only bakery in this town. So
correct.
If you are the only bakery in a town, it is not in your best interest to discriminate. But if you're in a very large town and you're trying to go for a niche clientele, just let me ask this question. If you go to a restaurant that has a suit, tie, tie and jacket requirement, are they discriminating against me because I walk in a tuxedo T-shirt?
Right.
Or are they just trying to go after a certain clientele?
That's something you can go against, though. If a restaurant were to hang a sign that said no black people, it's not like you can just take off your skin and wear different skin.
Yeah, and the government has ruled repeatedly on protected classes. Certain classes of people are protected in certain ways, based on skin color, based on nationality, based on sexual orientation and things like that.
In our little Free Talk Live amplifier group there, remember who was the guy trying to discriminate against statists and have him have us all kicked off the show?
I honestly don't pay attention to very much that happens in that group.
Well, they're all the people that apparently pay
I think I found somebody like that posted a review on the Heather fan club.
Yeah, no, they're the same guy. This is the same guy, right? He thinks he thinks he's this like anti-state anarchist, right? But he wants to have like me and Vincent kicked off the show and like cries about it. And so essentially what he wants to do, right, is he wants to have closed Free Talk Live borders and keep out all the statists. And he's going to build a Trump wall to block out the statists.
We can build a wall.
So he's so anti-state, he wants to build a wall to keep out the statists.
Stefan, thank you for the call. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. If you owned a bakery, would you discriminate or not?
I got my Blink home security system delivered right to my door. I downloaded the app and it walked me right through the easy setup. Even with my complicated router system, I was done in like 10 minutes. Now it notifies me whenever something moves in front of the wireless cameras, or I can just check it whenever I want right from my phone. And I got you a deal. Get 3 Blink cams for what the other guys charge you for 1, plus an extra 10% off. Visit blinkprotect.com/FTL. blinkprotect.com/FTL. blinkprotect.com/FTL.
Thinking about getting into cryptocurrency? It's time you looked into Dash. Dash is digital money that you can use to send instant and private payments anywhere for pennies. Dash offers a decentralized network where miners are rewarded for keeping it strong and safe. Dash has made a huge impact in the crypto world. Start your journey. Check out dash.org for more information and get in now on the future of cryptocurrency. Dash.org.
You've heard of Bitcoin Cash, but did you know there's now a Bitcoin Cash wallet? The Bitcoin.com wallet is a simple and powerful full-featured Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Core wallet that allows you to send and receive either currency with anyone, anywhere in the world. The Bitcoin.com wallet supports both single and multi-signature wallets and is available in multiple languages. The Bitcoin.com wallet is available for Android, iOS, Windows, Mac, and even Linux. Learn more at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Cryptocurrencies are successful because of good technology. The liberty-loving voluntarists who founded Zencash in 2017 took the best tech, like zero-knowledge anonymity and decentralized autonomous organizations, and are creating a secure platform for money, messages, and media that can be sent to anyone, anywhere in the world. Zencash is a cryptocurrency dedicated to peace, anonymity, and decentralization. Find out more at zencash.com. That's zencash.com. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We just had a call from Stefan, who called to ask if bakers should be allowed to bake, or required, not allowed, but required to bake cakes for people that they don't want to bake cakes for. Well, I've got a slightly different question that I want to ask you. How would you like to try the best pillow that you'll ever use and do so risk-free for 60 days? Nobody's twisting your arm forcing you to use this pillow. Nobody's twisting your arm forcing you to use the crappy pillow that you're using, assuming you're not using a MyPillow. But yeah, I'm talking about MyPillow. This thing is amazing. It's specially designed to fit to the shape of your body, hold your neck in the proper position while you sleep. I've been using it for going on 2 years, and yeah, it's the best pillow I've ever used. And unlike a regular pillow that collects a bunch of dead skin and dirt over the years, yeah, the MyPillow, it's not immune to dirt and skin, but you can throw it in the washer, throw it in the dryer, and it's still usable. Go to MyPillow.com. Use code FTL to get your very own MyPillow at half price, or get a second pillow free of charge. And remember, if you don't like it for some reason in the first 60 days, you get your money back. And the pillow itself is guaranteed to last 10 years. That's MyPillow.com, code FTL. And no, we're not going to force you to buy a MyPillow.
But what if MyPillow was like, oh, you really want this pillow? Well, guess what? I'm going to discriminate against you. You're not going to get a pillow.
It's not in their best interest to do so.
Yeah, but if they did, should they be like, you know what? We really don't like those Free Talk Live people, so we're not going to give any of their listeners a MyPillow
if they didn't
anymore.
like us, not only would we not be talking about it, they wouldn't have that code FTL that gets you.
I mean, they like people that buy their pillows, because I hear this ad on like everywhere.
Yeah.
It's because they got a great product. It is a great product. But it's not in anybody's best interest to discriminate.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the point. In a free market.
You hear that? So don't discriminate against the statists. Okay?
I cannot imagine a class of people that I would discriminate against in my store.
Right.
Strike that. Thieves.
Yes.
Yes.
Those are good people
I really
to
do not
against.
want to have thieves in my store, and I will probably ask them to leave should they show up.
I would discriminate against like sex offenders.
Really?
Yeah.
How would you know?
If they were like,
How would
if
you
they
know
were one
who's
of those
who?
like rapey people. Yep.
Well, I would too if I knew who they were, but I don't know who they are.
Well, some of them have their like I know in Massachusetts, the police departments had the registered sex offender faces like plastered to the wall, and it had their charges. And
I agree, but as a shop owner, would I recognize them?
They don't have those plastered in every single retail facility.
Well, the Cape was a smaller town, so
more people are likely to know.
like there was this one guy that drove around like a old school bus that he had like painted weird colors. And he was
Really?
She said weird colors.
Like a deep green.
Green's not a weird color.
I don't remember,
Okay,
but I know that like every time people would cite the school bus, they'd like notify everyone like where it was. Dude was a creep. I don't even know why he was on the streets.
Oh, and that's why I like the fact that that is in a sense open government, that they are putting names of people that have been found guilty out there. Where I have an issue is when government releases names, details, and paints a picture of someone being absolutely guilty before they've had a trial.
Right. And then even a lot of times after trial, because I'm a supporter of the Innocence Project, and I get emails all the time. So-and-so released after 30 years in prison on death row for a crime he did not commit.
Right.
There was, There was somebody in Massachusetts that like raped a little kid and did like 2 years and got put back on the streets. And then I know somebody that ended up becoming addicted to drugs, did it with his girlfriend, and bought drugs. She ended up overdosing. He was charged with supplying her with the heroin that killed her. Even though it was his girlfriend, he didn't actually kill her.
Right.
And he ended up getting like 10 years, but served 5. And so he did 5 years because she overdosed on heroin she chose to do ultimately, while this dude that raped a kid got out after 2 years in the same community.
Right.
Like the same courthouse, same everything. I'm like, how does that equal justice?
Well,
like,
it
doesn't.
It's never consistent.
Let's go to the phones. We can continue this conversation later, but let's first go to my other brother, Darryl, calling in from Austin, Texas. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, the one guy kind of stole my thunder with a thing about if you're like the only, grocery store in a small area for miles, would it be okay? And that's kind of a question I've had, like, for example, if it was a gas station, only gas station 100 miles.
Right.
And my initial thought would be, well, maybe, and I thought, well, wait a minute, actually the item I'm selling belongs to me.
Right.
If I own the item, I should be allowed to sell it to whom I want to or not sell it to who I want to because I actually own the items. The government didn't pay for it, I did, so I'm just reselling the items that I purchased.
Right.
So I think it's pretty cruddy to not service someone because you don't believe in who they're marrying or you don't like the color of their skin or something like that. It isn't that, it's a different, the different thing is, hey, I'm not taking your check because it keeps bouncing. Then the fact is I'm not going to service you because I don't like the color of your skin or who you're married to or who you like to sleep with.
Right.
I agree completely.
Again, it seems to just fly in the face of, any kind of economic sense to if you're the only grocer within, say, a 30-mile radius, to then tell a certain percentage of your clientele, I'm not doing business with you because I don't like your personal habits.
Yeah, but what if it was just like a driver-by? You know what I mean? With the
Hold on. But in the case, and I found the website for Sweet Cakes by Melissa, and this seems to be a baker that is hoping to wind up getting support from the Christian community because there are Bible verses on several pages of the website.
Right.
So I'm going to take a guess, and I don't know if the couple here that filed the suit specifically sought out a baker that they thought might not do business with them so that they could have a lawsuit.
And that's been alleged in a couple of these cases.
And I know that it's been a thing to where, I'm going to call up Chick-fil-A and ask them to cater a thing for me on a Sunday and then get mad when they say, no, they're not open on Sundays.
Right. I'm going to go down there with my attorney and ask them to do this.
Yeah. So, again.
Proclaimed Christians annoy the crap out of me.
Yeah, that's why I don't use the term to describe myself, because so many people do not act Christ-like at all.
I saw a meme, and it's actually right here. It says, you call yourself a Christian, but Jesus wasn't a snob who judged people for their imperfections. So you may want to get your Bible out and check up on that.
Darryl, thank you for the call. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. What are your thoughts on discriminating against people that you might not like things they do? This is Free Talk Live.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I'm here to tell you about GCNtelecare.com, a team of board-certified doctors assisting you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Within 15 minutes of registration, care your family can afford. Revolutionizing the healthcare industry, virtual consulting providing diagnosis of non-emergency medical issues by phone or secure video on computer or smart mobile devices. GCNtelecare.com. Virtual care anywhere.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size. For incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency, get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio tonight. It's Darryl.
And Heather.
And Chris.
And maybe you don't want to just listen to Free Talk Live. Maybe you want to watch. Maybe you're a voyeur like that. Well, you can do that because we've got a little cam. We've actually got two of them, but I think generally only the wide shot is on right now. You can go to youtube.freetalklive.com. Watch us. It feels kind of strange knowing that I'm being watched, but, whatever. There's also a chat room built into the YouTube thing youtube.freetalklive.com, and I have no clue what that thing was that was happening from Heather's mouth.
You didn't get the song reference?
What was it?
It always feels like somebody's watching.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God. How old are you? That's like an old
12.
song. I know, and you're like 11 years old.
Whatever.
Right, but when I was like 12, I listened
It's a good
to
drop. It
stuff
was
from the
appropriate.
60s.
Okay.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just amazed that you knew that.
Well, it was they played it actually quite a bit on.
They
the
play it on
Halloween
the classic
radio.
rock station, Chris.
Golden oldies.
And if you listen to like Halloween radio and stuff like that, like the little Pandora stations and stuff, that's one of the songs that come on.
I don't know
It's
what
like a
Halloween
creepy one.
radio is.
This is like one of those stations, or like iHeartRadio. You can pick different stations.
Oh, yeah.
This is like Christmas music during Halloween music.
Is that a Michael Jackson song?
It is actually.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And of course, it's probably played on the classic rock stations now because the definition of classic rock just keeps changing.
Getting broader and broader.
Because remember when I almost said, Chris, remember when we were kids, but then I realized that you weren't a kid at the same time as me.
Remember when you were a kid and Chris was like 40?
But
right.
No, you were like a teenager and I was a kid. There was a clearly defined definition of oldies. There was a clearly defined definition of classic rock. By the mid-'80s, there was a classic rock already existed.
Yeah, but it was never called that until like in the 80s. And then we started to refer to as like 70s, late 60s rock and roll and 70s album rock.
Was classic rock.
Was kind of classic rock, yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys grew up with like cassette tapes and...
Yes, I grew up with cassette tapes.
I grew up with 8 tracks, and we had a reel-to-reel in the house.
See,
and a wind-up phonograph.
And we'll get to the call here in just a second.
You say kids, but I still feel a little bit old.
So easy. You want to get a good,
my 10-year high school reunion is in like 6 months.
Oh dear!
You want to get a good, clear version of a song? Now you just go online and press a button and download. When I was a kid, you want to get a song. All right, DJ, shut up so I can get this before. Crap. Because they talk through the entire musical intro and then,
I did have a cassette actually when I was like really little. Like some of my first
Did
things.
it go in your Teddy Ruxpin?
No, but I remember like you'd have to like, if you put it in one way, it would be certain songs. But if you flipped it around.
Yes,
and played it
because
the other way.
Cassette tapes have 2 sides.
I know.
Like records have 2 sides. If you put it on the B side, that's not the song you're supposed to play on the top 40. But apparently, there were DJs that didn't realize that and accidentally made hits.
My daughter,
because they played the B side.
So the cassette tape to me is what the Echo Dot is to my daughter. So my daughter, right? She just goes like, Siri, play, or Alexa. That's what the thing is named.
Right.
She's like, Alexa, play, Katy Perry, and then all of a sudden, like, poof, Katy Perry. Yeah, it's crazy.
Hold on, which song by Katy Perry?
I don't know.
She
likes the Roar
I can only name one.
The Roar one.
I can name a bunch, but I'm just curious. Like
I've
if you
the
say
Eye of the Tiger.
Alexa, play Katy Perry. Which one of her songs played? Is it California Girls?
Probably
Is it Extraterrestrial? Is it Roar?
Darryl
I Kissed a Girl.
Himself some Katy Perry.
I totally
is there a
rock some
relation?
Katy Perry. Not that I'm aware of, but I totally
probably.
rock some
Kissing
Katy
cousins,
Perry.
Right?
Yeah.
And karaoke
Maybe
in
that's
Millinocket,
Daryl's
Maine.
ex-wife. That's his baby mama.
I could only be so lucky. Let's go to Skype where we've got David. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, David, a.k.a. Build the Wall in the FTO Amform Fox. Yeah.
Hey, David, it's Chris.
Yeah, hey, how's it going, ladies and gents? So, yeah, I mean, I'm not suggesting, like, getting all violent, building a wall, whatever kind of magical,
build
like,
a wall
state
through the
stuff
studio.
Y'all do. But I'm just saying that Free Talk Live could do a little bit better than having, a co-host that has aggressively violent proclivities, right? And that would include Chris Cantwell, Vince, and yourself, Heather.
Oh.
Right? I mean, and that's all I was saying.
Now tell me how you really feel.
I believe he just did.
I mean, that's how I really feel. I mean, there's no hate. I mean, whatever.
Wait, so this is David, the one that was. This is David, the one that was foaming at the mouth.
Hold on.
In response, your exact words was me saying, contract law being enforced. Right when you're contracting with someone to marry them, and it made you foam at the mouth to hear my opinions?
No. That wasn't exactly what I was saying. Rather, that you were taking some implicit per one person understanding of what marriage meant based on an assumption of what you thought.
So you're a married man. What does marriage mean to you?
I mean, marriage means what it means to you. Funny enough, right? I'm just saying that.
So what part about it made you foam at the mouth? So those were your exact words, verbatim.
Right? I mean, that's my thing, right? Is that you have this tendency, being a minarchist, whatever word for status we want to use, right? To say, I don't like that behavior, ergo, let's get aggressively violent to end it, right? And
aggressively violent. I didn't say I was just going to shoot anybody. I mean, like, where do you get this aggressively violent stuff?
You use euphemisms like law or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's like avoiding violence. I mean, if I really wanted to be aggressive, I would handle it myself, right? And then we'd all just resort to violence. But because we use a justice system, we give people the ability to use words and dialogue in a court of law in order to explain a situation and then have a jury, decide what the best outcome. We don't leave it up to one individual person. This is what a justice system is it's avoiding using violence. It's using violence as a last resort. It's using words and a court system as the ability to hash out disagreements and disputes.
Okay, I'm going to moderate here. David, your rebuttal.
Yeah, democratizing violence doesn't make it right. You can have a jury of 1,000 people. If they think that putting your your thing in the holiest of holies is worth being aggressively violent about, that's still wrong, right? And I don't care if it's one person or 1,000.
If you're
hold on, let him finish.
No.
Did that complete your thought? Okay.
I'll release the remainder of my time.
Okay, Heather.
Yeah, so if you're deceiving somebody, right, and you're deceiving your wife, if you marry your wife and go and put your pecker in whoever else, and
can we say that?
Yeah.
All right.
And that's
never mind.
Pecker?
Continue.
Really?
Well, don't say it like 16 times.
But if you go get somebody else pregnant and you've just wasted your entire, you deceived your wife. Okay, because that's not what she bargained for, and you committed to her. You didn't have to. Nobody forced you to get married and to be committed to one person, right? So you don't have to get married. You can go screw as many people as your little heart desires. No one forced you to manipulate and deceive your wife into committing into a marriage with you.
Maybe she did. Maybe she manipulated. And here's where I stand on this, because I remember this conversation. I agree, and I think David agrees, and I think you agree, and I think Darryl agrees that cheating on your spouse is not a good thing to do.
I don't know. It sounds to me like David just doesn't want to get caught.
No. Let me throw this idea out there. Where we differ is what should be done about that.
Yeah,
and where I stand, I can only speak for myself, is that I feel that the marriage. It's up to the man and wife, and if they decide it's not working, they should feel free to divorce and leave it at that. What I think it felt like you were advocating was for the state to get involved and bring charges against the man for cheating.
David, hold on, because I'm fairly certain you've got more to say. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
From the first letter of Captain Mark. History is full of flowery documents claiming to limit the power of the crown, but these poetic social contracts have been impotent to prevent the predation. Limited government is a lie they use to keep us submissive. The crown cannot be trusted to abide by its founding charters, nor its treaties, nor even its own rules. The essence of the crown is centralized violence, and I've had enough. That's why I raised my black banner. I am no revolutionary. My aim is not to reset the cycle of violence, but to break it. My aim is an evolved society, invisible to the crown, not a new hierarchy, but decentralized networks with no central figure for the crown to target. If you want your servile life, keep it, but we will not submit to the crown's agenda. And when you are ready to stop being its beast of burden, ready for adventure and opportunity, join us at pirateswithoutborders.com.
You've been hearing Dr. Wallach talking about 90 essential nutrients, keeping the body healthy. GCNteam.com now has Beyond Tangy Tangerine tablets, 60 plant-derived minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, packed in a powerful tablet. But that's not it. 160,000 auric points, a knockout punch to free radicals. Call 877-878-4203 or go to GCNteam.com. That's 877-878-4203.
Most people think life insurance pays after you're dead. That's true. But did you know you can have tax-free access to your life insurance while you're still alive? You can use the life benefits of your life insurance to grow your money with certainty and guarantees. No stock market risk, no tax risk, and no penalties. Call Life Benefits if you'd like a free book about how this can be done. Call 702-660-7000. That's 702-660-7000.
It's the Onion Radio News. The nation's last remaining themeless restaurant has closed. This is Doyle Redland reporting. A once vibrant era came to an end today when Pat's Place, the nation's last themeless restaurant, closed its doors in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. During the heyday of themeless restaurants, Pat's Place achieved a certain amount of notoriety for its unique non-themed food items and unadorned atmosphere. But according to owner Patrick Baines, the times have changed.
Lately, we've had only a handful of people coming in to gawk at our posterless walls and mundanely named menu items like hamburgers or pancakes, and then they go someplace like the Rainforest Cafe or Johnny Rockets to actually eat.
Plans are now in the works to convert the Pat's Place location into Cedar Rapids' 7th Patty-O Touchdown Sports Bar and Good Time Internet Grill. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And maybe you're looking for something to do in mid-February from the 15th through the 18th specifically, and maybe you want to go where it's a little bit warm. Well, think of going to Acapulco, Mexico, and joining a bunch of people down at Anarchapulco. Go to anarchapulco.com. I'm going to spell that for you because if you're any way like me trying to guess how that's spelled, not going to be easy. It's ANARCHAPULCO.com. Make anarchy great again. Listen to guest speakers G. Edward Griffin, Jeffrey Tucker, Ron Paul, Larkin Rose, Jeff Berwick, Bruce Fenton, Brett Venat, Julia Taransky, Dana Martin, Juan Galt, many, many more, including Vit Jedlicka, live music from Jordan Page, Backwards, Rob Hustle, and more. Again, happening February 15th through the 18th at the Princess Resort in Acapulco, Mexico. And there are other events that you can go to as well, in addition to the Anarchapulco event. There's a health and wellness retreat, something being called Cryptopulco, Change Media University, and an Amazonian ceremony called the Snake and the Jaguar. So Your experience at Anarchapulco might not be the same as somebody else's. And if you use code FTL, as in Free Talk Live, that's FTL, you save 10%. Anarchapulco.com, code FTL. Let's go back to David. David was having a discussion with Heather, and Chris, you luckily took over verbally moderating where I was using hand signals to try to signal to Heather to let David speak.
For those of you listening who are not in the FTL amplifier group or haven't listened a lot, this is pretty much the equivalent of Foreman Ali. This is the Rumble in the Jungle. This is
Not really.
the Thrilla in Manila.
If you do want to be, if you do want to be in the Amplifier Facebook group, well, first you need to be an amplifier, and you can do that by giving as little as $5 per month to the AMP program. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. That money gets used to advertise, market, and promote this show to more program directors to help us get on more radio stations. Right now, we're on about 170. We can be on a lot more. But again, that AMP funding does come in very, very handy to help us afford to do that advertising, marketing, and promoting. amp.freetalklive.com. So, David, I want to make sure that I'm understanding exactly where this entire disagreement between you and Heather came from. Several weeks ago, there was a discussion about whether or not adultery should be illegal, as in a criminal offense.
Correct.
And Heather's position is
marriage should be treated
be a criminal offense
as
because
pertaining to contract law.
Hold on. Let me. I'm explaining my understanding of your disagreement. So let me finish explaining.
She just gave her point of view, so there you have that.
Heather's position, as I understand it, was that adultery should be illegal because marriage is a contract and courts should uphold contract law, therefore misdemeanor. And David's position is that adultery should not be illegal because it's not an offense that should really involve the government. Is that correct, David?
I mean, I don't know about this whole government thing. I mean, the whole thing shouldn't even exist. But if we're going to call it a contract, then sure, contracts should be enforced. And if somebody explicitly agrees to those terms, even really implicitly agrees to them to a great extent, then sure, enforce the contract and get your restitution, right? But these broad generalizations, like adultery should be, quote, against the law. I mean, we all know what that's a euphemism for, right? It's a euphemism for, let's use aggressive violence.
No, it's not. It's a whatever you want to call it. It means don't cheat on your spouse. That's what it means. Doesn't mean, let's use violence, blah, blah, blah. No, it means don't cheat on your spouse.
What's the law? What's the law mean? So you break a law, what happens?
You get punished.
You know what happens?
Yeah, you get punished.
Like aggressively,
the law,
right?
contract
so
law.
Let's get
Hold
down
on.
to brass
Let
tacks,
David
right?
finish
it means
a thought.
Aggressive violence, right? And you know that, and I know that, and everybody else knows that.
David?
And if you believe that, that's fine.
Can I hop in for just a second?
Deceiving someone is an
Heather?
act of aggression.
Hold on.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. Here's the basic disagreement, and this is a libertarian position, is that government has a monopoly on the use of force, and when it chooses to enforce anything, it does so under the threat of violence. That violence can come in form of imprisonment or actual physical action against someone else, and that seems to be the main sticking point between those of us who are probably on the more libertarian side, all the way to anarchists, to those that are sort of on the minarchist side, which as I said before we got on the air, I think Heather probably fits in there somewhere in that spectrum towards the full-blown statist, which I don't think Heather is a full-blown statist. All right. Sorry about that.
David?
Yeah. So, you have all nice words to mask over the cold, hard reality that when we use terms like make a law, what we're really saying is let's be aggressively violent with people who are not behaving the way that we see fit.
Yes, people that deceive and fraud others should be punished. I wholeheartedly agree with that. not changing my position on it. If you manipulate someone and you deceive someone and you take something away from them, you should have to make them whole. Yes, I believe in that. Sorry if you think that makes me a bad person.
Okay. How about
it
when...
kind of does.
It does, really? So you cheat on your wife and you lie to her and you go get...
You're making some assumptions.
Right.
I feel so bad for your wife, dude.
That doesn't make me a good person. But when you decide to be aggressively violent against somebody who hasn't been aggressively violent against you, which in that point, I guess it would be defensive violence.
I think robbing someone of their free will.
Hold on, let him finish.
Is violence.
That's sort of morally detestable. I mean, and if you're okay with aggressive violence, that's fine. Just own it.
David, we've got a caller that actually has a question for you.
I feel like that would be defensive.
Will you take a question from a caller?
Sure.
All right. We've got Robert calling in from Bellows Falls. Robert, you're on Free Talk Live with Darryl, Heather, Chris, and also David.
Thank you for taking my call. I heard this argument last week, and it might have been the week before then, and I didn't call in them times before, but I did now. And the reason why I did is that I'm just getting the feeling that David kind of seems like he's attacking Heather. That's what I'm seeing, and he realizes it, and he sees it, and he just keeps right on picking at it, knowing that she's gonna, he's gonna get a reaction out of it.
I started ignoring him in the Facebook group, so he calls the show.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
So I didn't even know that, but that's interesting to know. Fair enough.
Yeah, I ignored you when you were like, "Oh, Heather, go back to your status hut," is what you said.
So, Robert, was there a question?
Or just an observation?
David, are you married at all? I mean, not that it makes any difference to me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, why are you calling up a radio station and picking at this woman that you probably may not even know? That I would only ask that of you if I was your wife.
Well, it's funny that you asked that question because I am in the same room with my beautiful wife right now, right? And I would, honestly answer that with this response, and that is, two wrongs don't make a right. Yes, if you act in a way that is, I guess being an infidel, right, or cheating on your wife, that makes you a bad person. Absolutely. If you are aggressively violent towards somebody that has not been aggressively violent towards you, denying you life, liberty, or property, then you are also a bad person.
Agreed.
Nobody's saying if you cheat on your wife, we're gonna come beat you with a sledgehammer or something. Like you're going to extremes. We're saying that you're gonna have to, if you violate that marriage contract, you're gonna have to go before a judge. You're gonna have to go before a jury, whatever the case may be.
Well,
your wife can make
saying.
a case. The majority of people are saying this is the system we live in.
I don't know if just because there's something. And
I'm
Robert,
going to go
thank
ahead and
you
say that the
for
majority of people
call, but just because there's a law in the books doesn't mean a majority of the people support said law.
Right,
Yeah,
and
I
that
think
was
they
only
do.
in a few very small towns that we were looking at blue
Well,
laws.
I support the law, so don't cheat on your wife. Your gorgeous
Cannabis
wife.
is illegal, but yet opinion polls consistently show 60% of people don't want it to be illegal. David, thank you for
Thanks for
the
calling,
call.
David.
Hour 3 coming up next. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $9.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees, ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
Hi, this is Mark Edge of Free Talk Live. Michael W. Dean's book, User's Manual for the Human Experience, changed my life. In a culture that attempts to turn you into a compliant victim, this book gives you implementable steps on everything from how to be aware of your environment, walking down the street, to business, to how to handle a toxic person in your life. If you're a human, you need to read this book at least once. Go to Amazon and get the Kindle version, or paperback, or an audiobook of A User's Manual for the Human Experience.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, December 28th, 2017. Silver is trading at $16.74 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,293 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 5.1 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $14,274. Antiwar.com reports, with the Spanish government's attempt to end Catalan secession by forcing a new election having failed, leading to the election of another majority of pro-secession members of parliament, King Felipe VI used his Christmas address to warn the new parliament to renounce secessionist ambitions. The king insisted that a confrontation would generate discord and uncertainty in the region. It's unlikely, given the December campaign making secession the core of the election, that a victorious pro-secession bloc is going to let the matter drop outright. At the same time, some Catalan secessionist parties did give lip service to trying to make the break a more negotiated process than the previous effort was, which saw Catalonia hold a vote over Spanish objections and attempt to secede outright afterwards. Spanish officials, particularly Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy, have long rejected the idea of a negotiated exit, but their trump card of forcing a new election having failed, they may no longer feel they can just try to jail the secessionist leaders as rebels.
In 1999, Darryl W. Perry began a search for traditional values, which led him down a path to the ideas of liberty. He tells the story in A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty. Of the book, Dr. Brian Sovereign says, sometimes it's funny, and sometimes I think it's crazy, but it's always authentic. Find A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty by Darryl W. Perry on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, ask for A Rebel's Journey wherever books are sold, or visit arebelsjourney.com.
UPI reports federal investigators concluded the Food and Drug Administration takes too long to remove contaminated and unsafe food products from the shelves. The Inspector General of the Department of Health and Human Services issued a report Tuesday after examining 30 of 1,557 food recalls between 2012 and 2015 and found the FDA did not always evaluate health hazards and issue recalls in a timely manner. The report stated recalls were not always initiated promptly because FDA does not have adequate procedures to ensure that firms take prompt and effective action in initiating voluntary food recalls. The FDA oversees recalls of all food except meat and poultry and was given authority to issue a mandatory recall when a company fails to voluntarily recall unsafe food after being asked to do so under the Food Safety Modernization Act of 2011. The report found that companies took an average of 57 days to recall items after the FDA was made aware of potential hazards, and one recall did not begin for 303 days. It also noted the agency took 165 days to start a recall of nut butters possibly tainted with salmonella, 151 days to recall hazelnuts also suspected of salmonella contamination, 82 days to recall frozen spinach believed to contain high levels of cadmium, and 27 days to recall cooked duck eggs carrying bacteria responsible for botulism. The report noted several failings, including deficiencies in FDA's oversight of recall initiation, monitoring of recalls, and collecting and tracking recall data. FDA agreed with the assessments made in the report and said it would consider the results of the review.
For over 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals. Gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. They don't feed the banks. They're Bitcoin preferred and have removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co.
Reuters reports the U.S. holiday shopping season is on track to break sales records on the back of surging consumer confidence and increased use of mobile devices, presenting an unexpected boon for retailers and delivery companies they rely on. The holiday shopping season, a crucial period for retailers that can account for up to 40% of annual sales, brought record-breaking online and in-store spending this year of more than $800 billion, according to MasterCard Incorporated's analytics arm. Preliminary numbers show total holiday sales will exceed initial forecast from Retail Next of a 3.8% increase from last year. Package delivery companies that handle returns for retailers have benefited from booming delivery volumes in recent years, but also have had to invest billions of dollars to upgrade and expand their networks to cope as e-commerce purchases surge to new heights. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
Florida officials announced today its plan to experiment with new 600-lever voting machines.
The machine operates through a very straightforward process that we think is going to give Floridians the peace of mind that their votes will be counted. The voter turns on the machine using these 30 levers at the top and then enters their names and social security numbers using the alphanumeric levers near the bottom here. Right about now, the voter's going to have to find the two levers on the machine that are exactly identical and pull them at the same time. Then they're going to have to...
The new 22-foot-tall steam-powered machines, which officials are hailing as, quote, the future of voting, each feature over 45 separate panels of levers, along with an intricate series of valves, knobs, cranks, and pumps, all designed to streamline the electoral process.
Now, some of this may seem confusing, but every voter will be given a comprehensive 2,200-page manual when they enter their precinct that will explain exactly what to do.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. Kicking off hour number 3. You can join us by calling in toll-free 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio, it's Darryl.
And Heather.
And Chris.
And Heather, you've got a story about something about donating bodies to science that might not actually be donated to science, which then makes it sound like it's not being donated to science if it's being sold for something other than science.
Well,
how close am I to...
Somewhat. It's kind of like an interesting subject, and I didn't realize how much to this industry there really was, mainly because one of the arguments is that there really is no oversight into this industry.
I didn't realize there was an industry
Oh, yeah.
of selling donated bodies because, you know, my thinking is when you donate your body to, say, the Harvard School of Medicine, that the body actually goes to the Harvard School of Medicine, not some, you know, body
like this
selling
whole
company.
Trade thing. Like, there's literally price tags put on limbs, on heads, on torsos. Like I've been reading all about this, and I'm like, oh my God. So
this comes from The Scientist.
Yeah. It's called The Industry of Body. Well, it's titled The Industry of Bodies Donated for Science Lacks Oversight. And so there's been investigations into it. And it's interesting.
Just jump into the article.
Okay. Thanks, Darryl. Don't let me give my own little intro here. Get everybody a little hyped up.
Go ahead. They're already hyped.
Oh, okay. So Reuters sheds light on a largely unregulated trade of human body parts taken from human cadavers donated for science. Federal officials found 4 fetuses among various human remains in a 2013 raid of businessman Arthur Rathbun's Detroit warehouse. Reuters reported this week, December 26th. Rathburn, who formerly sold human tissues, was charged earlier this year for defrauding his customers by sending them infected body parts and will stand for trial in January of 2018. This is the latest in a series of discoveries uncovered by Reuters, documenting the unregulated state of the so-called body broker industry, which specializes in the trade of human body parts for use in medical research and education. The majority of the 34 body broker businesses across the United States that were examined in investigations by the news agency earlier this year are for-profit corporations, some earning several $1 million a year. So the current state of affairs is a free-for-all. Angela MacArthur, director of the University of Minnesota Medical School's body donation program, tells Reuters, "I don't know if I can state this strongly enough. What they are doing is profiting from the sale of humans."
Okay, just to throw out a question there, I'm not sure I agree that more regulation is needed.
There isn't any.
Exactly. But what I would say is Reuters seems to be doing the world a really good service by doing the research and finding out about this stuff and making it news. I suspect if somebody, a family member, donated their body to science, that, like Darryl said, I would have an expectation that that would go to a medical school.
Right.
Or,
if I wind up signing papers
right.
with the University of, Harvard School of Medicine,
right.
that they take ownership of my body upon my death, I expect that, Harvard School of Medicine would wind up taking ownership of my death,
right.
not this Minnesota School of Body Donation or whatever the hell this thing is.
Right. But go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so it says, in general, buying and selling human cadavers is legal in the United States with the exception of organs used in transplants. However, it is a clear violation of federal law to trade fetal tissue. Rathburn's business had focused on renting out human body parts to medical and dental students for nearly 7 years with his wife, Elizabeth, according to the Washington Post. It is unclear how he acquired the fetuses or what he planned to do with them.
So the term renting is kind of weird. It's like I have a Halloween party coming up.
Well, basically what that means is these companies, I did some digging, like these body broker companies, they store body parts, right? So let's say they have 30 arms and a school that's doing some, medical school is doing a project. They need to purchase 27 elbows. So they either buy them or they rent them. So they can rent them for a price, a smaller price, but then they're returned back to the broker once they're done with them.
Do they have to return them in the same shape? Like, is it renting a car?
This is the most messed up part. Is the more I read into this, I'm like, what? How did I not know any of this
when
was
you
going
rent a car
on?
from Hertz,
right.
You return it with a full tank of gas, unless you sign the thing saying I'll return it on empty, and then you buy the gas at a cheaper rate because they know that there's going to be some gas left in the tank. And it needs to be vacuumed and whatnot.
But how do you practice surgery on an elbow and then return it in the same condition?
I don't know what.
So
they
I
do
guess
with
they just have it. Each piece.
That's
must
why
have
you buy the elbow instead of rent the elbow. But if you only need to show somebody, like, here's how you bandage an elbow.
He's probably got this stuff figured out so that I can rent it to a medical school first to practice arthroscopic surgery on an arm. That's the first thing. And then I can, once they've done their stuff, then I can sell the bones to or rent the bones to this other group that does something with making artificial limbs and on and on. It's gruesome stuff, but go ahead.
So, yeah, it's pretty gruesome. It actually says confidential photographs taken by federal agents during the 2013 raid, which were reviewed by Reuters, show fetuses that appeared to have been in their second trimester. Some photographs also show rotting human heads stored in coolers inside the warehouse. Representative Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, who recently chaired a special U.S. House committee on the use of fetal tissue, tells Reuters that the discoveries raise questions about the lax oversight and lax enforcement in the human body trade industry. Like most states, authorities in Michigan are not required to inspect body trade facilities dealing with human body parts. The industry relies heavily on the poor, who often decide to donate their bodies in exchange for free cremation or leftover body parts. Family members are often unaware of how those donated remains will be used. For instance, the body of an Arizona family's great-grandmother ended up for use in U.S. Army blast experiments without the consent of the family, who had hoped her body would be used to search for a cure for Alzheimer's disease. Reuters reports the family had explicitly noted on the consent form that they objected to non-medical and military experiments.
So that sounds as though the United States federal government violated a contract.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise, surprise. And this article is saying that that is somehow a failing of not having regulations over the body trade industry.
Yeah, and that's the part I kind of take issue with. Again, going back to our previous conversation, this really is about contract law. If you agree to help a family out, which is, for the very poor that cannot afford a cremation, let alone a burial, and you offer them this service where, and you give them choices, and you say, do you allow this to be used in by the military or in government work, and you say no, then that absolutely must be honored. If it's not, then sorry, FedGov, you're liable.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just the government, though. So if you read this article, they link the Reuters, one of the Reuters articles, and I'll just read a brief little paragraph from there. It says, body brokers have also become intertwined with the American funeral industry. Reuters identified 62 funeral operators that have struck mutually beneficial business arrangements with brokers. The funeral homes provide brokers access to potential donors. In return, the brokers pay morticians referral fees ranging from $300 to $1,430 according to broker ledgers and court records. These payments generate income for morticians from families who might not be able to otherwise afford even simple cremation. Such relationships raise conflict of interest.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot more in this Reuters article than that article from The Scientist that we'll get into, plus your calls and thoughts. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. What are your thoughts on body brokers?
And not to mention the shedding, I would vacuum the carpet 3 times a week. Frodo was scratching all night long, bouncing on the side of the bed, keeping me awake the whole entire night from all the scratching and chewing. It kind of makes you neurotic.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy?
Mounds and mounds of fur all over the place.
Come to Dinovite for help.
DINOVITE.com.
If you want the dog to be healthy, you got to feed it something healthy.
Dinovite is nutrition.
The omega-3 fatty acids.
Flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa.
Our vitamins and enzymes replace the nutrients cooked out of most commercial dog foods.
He gobbles it up. He's not up all night scratching. His shedding is minimal, and it is such a pleasure to have my calm, relaxed, non-shedding puppy back. And I have to thank Dinovite for that.
Don't let your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy.
Come to Dinovite for help.
859-428-1000.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
I got my Blink home security system delivered right to my door. I downloaded the app and it walked me right through the easy setup. Even with my complicated router system, I was done in like 10 minutes. Now it notifies me whenever something moves in front of the wireless cameras, or I can just check it whenever I want right from my phone. And I got you a deal. Get 3 Blink cams for what the other guys charge you for 1, plus an extra 10% off. Visit blinkprotect.com/FTL. 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 I've said it many times on air, and I'll say it here. The New Hampshire Liberty Alliance is one of the most important organizations for freedom in the world. New Hampshire is ground zero for freedom, and the NHLA is the best organization at promoting effective liberty activism. This ad is sponsored by Free Talk Live, and I, Mark Edge, am a lifetime member because I believe in the NHLA. Please check them out at nhliberty.org. Not everyone can move right now, but you can support the cause. Donate top cryptocurrencies or old-fashioned U.S. dollars, nhliberty.org. Visit their website and see what they're all about, nhliberty.org.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadati.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to bipcot.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking about the surprising market for body brokers. I didn't even know this was a thing, and we'll get back into it. But, you know, cryptocurrencies are really hot right now. And crypto is where it's at because there's some good technology behind crypto. The liberty-loving voluntarist who founded Zencash in 2017 took the best tech, like zero-knowledge anonymity and decentralized autonomous organizations, and are creating a secure platform for money and messaging that can be sent to anyone, anywhere in the world. Zencash is a cryptocurrency dedicated to peace, anonymity, and decentralization. Find out more at zencash.com. That's zencash.com. So the article that we first went over was from The Scientist that basically was a rewrite of a much larger article from Reuters that we're getting into. And something that I don't recall seeing in The Scientist piece that Reuters has towards the top of theirs says the industry's business model hinges on access to a large supply of free bodies, which often come from the poor. In return for a body, brokers typically cremate a portion of the donor at charge, that being the deceased donor, not the living family of the body that was donated. By offering free cremation, some death care industry veterans say that brokers appeal to low-income families at their most vulnerable. Many have drained their savings paying for a loved one's medical treatment and can't afford a traditional funeral. And then they get into some of the things, again, where there was the one family that they specifically signed in the contract that they did not want their great-grandmother to wind up being used for non-medical or military experiments, but her body wound up being sold to the U.S. Army for blasting experiments.
Now, what I think is interesting that I'd like to read, if you don't mind, Darryl.
Yep, go ahead.
Is there's this little graph, and we'll post this article as well. There's this little graph that shows the 8 steps of how the industry works that I feel like put it in pretty good perspective for me. So the first step in how this whole body brokering industry works is, one, soliciting donors. So Body brokers solicit donors online and via funeral homes, hospices, hospitals. Donors are told they will contribute to science and receive free cremation. Number 2 is the consent. So a donor can sign a consent form giving their body to a broker before dying, or the next of kin signs the form after death. 3 is medical checks, basically where the broker assesses the body's medical history, checks it for infectious diseases. Number 4 is the dissection of the body. The broker either retains the whole cadaver or dissects it mostly into 6 parts: the head, the torso, arms, and legs. Number 5 is cremation. If requested, a portion of the body not sold for research and education is cremated within weeks and returned to the next of kin.
Now, I just want to point out here that if they wind up selling the arms, legs, torso, and head, basically the only thing left to be cremated would be some of the organs?
They have to choose some part of it that will be returned, and that might be in the agreement.
Pinky toe.
Yeah, well, yeah, whatever.
That would be some part.
Yeah, it would be.
So basically, it's there at step 5, the cremation, where now it's no longer a part of the next of kin, right? So you've sold off the parts and given whatever's been given to the next of kin. Step 6 is placing orders. So a broker's clients, such as a medical device company, submits an order for body parts. Example, 27 elbows for a surgical training seminar. Number 7 is price quote. The broker assesses its inventory, provides a price quote for the body parts, and if accepted, sells or rents the body parts to the client. And number 8 is return. Rented body parts are returned to the broker for potential reuse. Body parts sold to clients are cremated after research or training and disposed. So this is basically this entire industry and how it works that I never knew existed.
Yeah, that all makes sense. The question is do you have bad actors in there that are going to ignore the contracts that they have set up with people that are bereaved? I mean, if you're talking about this, you're talking with people at the worst possible time, most likely in their lives.
Right.
And are they taking advantage of it? If so, they're bad actors. If they are not doing so, and if they are bad actors, then they should have to come up with some sort of restitution for their actions. If they're acting under the contract and what they said, I don't see where they need to be regulated. I don't see regulation in either case.
Like, what about the conflict of interest, though? Because, like, where it says here, some morticians have made donation part of their own businesses. In Oklahoma, 2 funeral home owners invested $650,000 in a startup body broker firm.
As morbid as it sounds, it's another revenue source. So if you're already dealing with dead bodies and you know that this industry is out there, you already have the facilities, so you have a low cost of entry. Why wouldn't you pursue that? Again, it's
so Chris,
nothing I can imagine doing.
I want to play devil's advocate here for just a second. You already said that this is a situation where you've got a family that's at their most vulnerable.
True.
My brother, sister, husband, father, whomever just passed away. Yeah. I do not have the money to pay for a funeral. I can't even come up with the $900 to pay for a cremation. They had no life insurance at all. I don't know what I'm going to do. And the funeral director says, well, I've got a solution for you.
Yeah.
And then you wind up finding out that
they're getting paid.
That something in the contract wound up being violated, or they're making a bunch of money off of this thing that you were just told you'll get a free $900 cremation and you'll get half of the ashes,
and they're getting thousands of dollars off rentals, for example.
Right. So the family then feels victimized again, but they don't have the funds to wind up seeking restitution through the court system.
Yeah, and that's always a really tough thing, and if everything is laid out, if it's clear and if they did not violate the contract, but they feel like they signed something they wish they wouldn't have. I hate to be the guy who says, I'm sorry, though, you signed the contract.
Right, but
and if it wasn't
the
hidden
example
from
that I gave
is they did not follow the contract.
At some point, the body broker or someone, secondarily, tertiarily violates part of the contract.
Right. In today's world, the answer would be then they would have the right to pursue them either in a small claims court or something like that.
Right, but again, we're talking about a family that doesn't have the funding to pay that fee.
I get it.
To file the claim.
They may find an attorney who is willing to take the case on in exchange for a cut of the proceeds.
Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450 free. That's 855-450-3733. What are your thoughts on this whole body broker thing?
Actual testimonials from real Numanna customers.
I've tried all kinds of food storage, and Numanna is by far the best.
I'm a single mom with 2 teenage boys and a full-time job. I don't always have time to cook a 4-course meal. That's where Numanna has been such a blessing. I can spend less time in the kitchen and more time on what matters most, like helping with homework.
Find out for yourself. Order online at thepowermall.com. That's thepowermall.com. Numanna is
food stores I love to eat. Yum!
Thepowermall.com.
If you or someone you care about loves outdoor adventure, then check out slingbow.com for some unique holiday gift ideas. That's slingbow.com, where we have some innovative new products for the archer, hunter, or bow fishing enthusiast in your family. Now through January, use the promo code HOLIDAY to get free shipping in the U.S. or Canada. And from all of us at Slingbow Industries, have a safe, joyous, and peaceful holiday season.
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love, and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way,
love as your guide,
and liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit shiresociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at shiresociety.com. That's shiresociety.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking about the surprising, because I didn't even know there was an industry for this, the surprising industry of body brokers. And Heather, when you first mentioned this about people donating bodies for science and then being
that was like the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
This doesn't actually sound like they're being donated for science. They're being sold under the guise of having been donated for science. It's just so weird.
There's no, like, you could be into necrophilia, really, and have a sugar amount of money. And I don't know, can I say that word?
That's a bunch of money.
Yeah, a bunch of money.
So you can have a bunch of money and buy a body and be some creep that's like into like necrophilia or something. I mean, there's no regulating it. Like, there's nothing stopping.
Well, I'm fairly certain there are laws against necrophilia, but there's not a law that would prohibit
them from getting it, though.
Body broker. Yeah.
Like, anybody could buy it and do sick
Can
stuff like
can
that.
you?
There's a guy.
Can anybody walk in and go, "Hi, I've got a Halloween party coming up, and I need a human head for a display I'm doing."
This Reuters article says that after a few emails, only like 3 emails to a brokerage, they managed to get a couple spines and a human head.
So I'm curious about the spines. Were they regular spines? Did they have any kind of deformation? You know, did they get a spine with
spina bifida?
No. What's the scoliosis?
Right.
I don't know.
Like, could you call up the body brokers and request? I would like a femur that had previously been broken but then healed itself.
Yes. So basically what they do is when these bodies come, they do one of the steps in the process is the medical assessment, where they tested it for infectious diseases, they get medical history, all that kind of stuff. So if they wanted, it mentioned something about studying pancreases, like one university. So if there's people that had pancreatic
diabetes research
or whatever it was.
Probably diabetes research, because diabetes generally, one of the 2 types is the pancreas just doesn't work.
Okay, so let's say they had, 30 pancreases in-house of patients that had diabetes. Then they would mark that, I'm sure they have all the software and stuff that has all the patient information on the parts.
I wonder if they've put this on a blockchain yet.
I don't know.
Keep track of all the different body parts. And
what's interesting, though, is even though it says there's no, lack of government oversight, and you guys are saying, we don't, or at least Chris is saying, no oversight is necessary. It's funny because in 2004, it says a federal health panel unsuccessfully called on the U.S. government to regulate the industry, which means the U.S. government chose not to regulate the industry. Which I find interesting.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, my question is what regulation would provide? I mean,
why do you think they chose not to regulate the industry?
My first impression whenever I hear that is because a bunch of lobbyists probably confronted whoever was discussing this and said, I really want to continue to support the candidates that support your agency, and if you regulate this, it's going to make it really hard for me to do that. That's usually what's at the bottom of it.
Well, this says, since then, more than 2,357 body parts obtained by brokers from at least 1,638 people have been misused, abused, or desecrated across America. The count, based on a review of court, police, bankruptcy, and internal broker records, is almost certainly understated, given the lack of oversight. It includes instances in which bodies were used without donor or next of kin consent. Donors were misled about how bodies would be used. Bodies were dismembered by chainsaws instead of medical instruments. Bodies were stored in such unsanitary conditions that they decomposed, or bodies were discarded in medical waste incinerators instead of being properly cremated.
So the first effect I think that will come out of this article is a lot of people will talk about it. A lot of people will remember it. And it's like the crematorium that was down in Georgia where they weren't actually cremating people. They were just kind of burying them.
Yeah.
And then they were selling like wood ash and stuff like that to families and saying this is the remains. That place went out of business.
Right.
And nobody would have ever thought to go to them again. I would assume that a lot of the customers of these body brokers, which include medical schools and all these other legitimate, more or less legitimate uses we talked about, they're going to be questioning the people that they get these parts from. And
Right.
the market's going to apply pressure to them.
And my advice...
Some of them are going to go out of business.
My advice is if you want your body to be used for scientific purposes upon your death, work that out with a scientific facility directly prior to your death instead of hoping that your family is able to get in touch with somebody somehow after you're dead and Harvard School of Medicine winds up with your head.
Yeah, it's one of those things that nobody wants to talk about, which is why so many people don't have wills.
That's why I brought it in.
I know that. But a lot of people don't have wills because they don't want to face their own mortality or talk about it. When you're healthy and everything's okay, that's the time to make those decisions.
Another reason I don't mind talking about it is because I was a licensed life insurance agent for a while, so I had this talk with a lot of people.
And
you're just seeing it as all actuarial tables.
Like when you're going to die, who's going to cover your death, you know?
Right.
This is the unfortunate conversation as a life insurance agent I had to have with a lot of people. So.
Right.
And probably as important, if not more so than a will, is what they call the living will of what happens if... let's say you have some kind of accident and you're brain dead. Do you want to wind up being put on some device and then your family gets to decide when to pull the plug?
Yep.
What about do not resuscitate order, DNR orders?
I don't know.
Did we talk about that story or did I threaten to bring it in?
I remember there was the thing about the guy that had the DNR.
He had a do not resuscitate tattooed on his chest.
But he went resuscitated anyway?
Right. He went to the emergency room. They go to put the paddles on him. They tear off his shirt, and it says do not resuscitate. And it put the people in the emergency room were like, is this an official DNR? What do we do? Do we respect what some guy had tattooed on his chest because maybe he thought it was a joke? Or do we treat him and find out later? You know what I mean?
I think in that case, it's better to ask forgiveness of, hey, dude, I wasn't really sure what,
There's nothing in our guidelines that addresses
Mm-hmm.
tattoos on your body. So again, I think the point being, have the more challenging discussions like this beforehand.
Well, one thing that makes me think about it is the emotional vulnerability people are in, like the next of kin are in when their loved ones pass away, where I feel like in a situation of like cremation services and stuff, there is that conflict of interest when someone that owns a funeral home is getting paid like a referral fee from a body broker company,
Well, yeah, but is that any different than trying to upsell you on a casket?
No, well, no. See, that's what I don't mind doing as a life insurance agent. Was I was sitting down with people when they weren't like in these emotional, vulnerable states. They were perfectly cognizant. We were having the rational discussion of, okay, let's look at your final expense planning and let's figure it out now, as opposed to, oh, look, your mom just died and you're an emotional mess and you are unsure of whether or not this insurance policy is going to cover it, or maybe she didn't have coverage. So guess what? I'm going to fix your problem for you and make a killing off of you,
Right. But again, nothing against that industry.
Your mom is going here, but your mom's actually going to end up decomposing in a barrel in a parking lot at some warehouse of a body broker company that,
Well, I hope that doesn't happen in every example, and I'm sure in this industry there are probably some people that do.
But should there be like a rating service, like some type of reputable rating service where we can have these good quality companies filtered out?
That may be a result of what comes out of this kind of horrible press for this industry. They may voluntarily put something like that together.
Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dynovite for help.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynovite.
Dynovite is nutrition.
Pick up 2 bottles of Lico Chops, get the 3rd bottle free.
New improved LicoChaps with omega-3, omega-6, vitamin E.
And now, 6 extra direct-fed microbials.
Even better for the digestive tract and immune system.
Try LicoChaps. Buy 2, get 1 free.
At Dinovite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
Cryptocurrencies are successful because of good technology. The liberty-loving voluntarists who founded Zencash in 2017 took the best tech, like zero-knowledge anonymity and decentralized autonomous organizations, and are creating a secure platform for money, messages, and media that can be sent to anyone, anywhere in the world. Zencash is a cryptocurrency dedicated to peace, anonymity, and decentralization. Find out more at zencash.com. That's zencash.com.
Hello, my name is Marjorie Wildcraft. I'm the founder of the Grow Network, which is an online community of people who produce their own food and medicine. We are really into backyard self-reliance. If you want this lifestyle, I suggest your first step be to learn some basic home medicine. Just the other day, my 18-year-old son came to me and said, "Mama, I got a sore throat. Can you fix me up?" And I said, "Sure, Ryan," and in about 24 hours, he was better. The best home medicine for you to start out with is garlic. It's an amazing natural antibiotic, and I can show you how to use garlic to handle ear infections, sore throats, colds, and flus. As a way for you to get to know a little bit more about me and the Grow Network, I've written up an easy introduction on how to use garlic. It's at gcnwellness.com. Now, the station manager told me that I needed to say the URL at least twice, even though it feels kind of weird. But if you're interested in backyard self-reliance, you are one of us. Go to www.gcnwellness.com and let's connect up.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Lil Drums. Every bit as fun as a full-size Nestle drumstick cone and definitely cuter. Visit us at drumstick.com. Vacations are all about family time, but you don't have to leave home to have fun. Take 1 weekend a month and devote it to family activities. Pull out the board games and puzzles, serve up some treats, or have a picnic. Even without leaving home, you'll feel like you've really had some time away. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Possibly time for you and your thoughts if you call in right now. In studio, it's Darryl.
And Heather.
And Chris.
We've been talking about body brokers, which is an industry I didn't even know existed, because I thought when you donated your body to science, like you or your family actually wound up working out a deal directly with a medical facility like the Harvard School of Medicine or the UAB School of Medicine or UCLA or USC or some other facility. But apparently that's not how things actually work, to where a lot of times it's a funeral home director or somebody that works at the crematorium that works out a deal with the family of, hey, we'll get you this free cremation. All you've got to do is sign this, and grandma winds up being used for some scientific, possibly some non-scientific research. And, we'll give you parts of the remains in, cremated form. And then that's where things go weird, to where sometimes the bodies get sold to the U.S. Army to be used to see, hey, let's see what happens when we blow this bomb up near this. Or, Chris, I think you had mentioned something about possibly testing certain weaponry of, right. Hey, how does this hollow point wind up, reacting once it hits human flesh?
Yeah.
And there's definitely more to this very long article from Reuters. I will post the link on the Facebook and the Twitter that you can find at facebook.freetalklive.com or twitter.freetalklive.com. Let's go to the phones, where we've got Sarah calling in from Albuquerque. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, I would like to announce that we had 75 homicides this year just in Albuquerque.
Is that high for Albuquerque?
Well, you know what? It's the highest rate since like 20 years.
Wow.
So 20 years ago, we killed like 75 people in our city.
By you mean
really
people
high.
there did.
You weren't actually involved in killing any of the people yourself, right, Sarah?
No, of course I'm not.
Okay, well, you said we killed people, and just making sure that you weren't confessing to murder on Free Talk Live.
I didn't think it was true.
No, I'm just saying our city as a whole. But you know what? I think red light cameras have to do something with it, because it's the lawless mentality.
Stopping murders?
Hold on. How do red light cameras prevent murder or cause?
No. Her call started with the murder rate is up, and then you're bringing up red light cameras. Are red light cameras
She's claiming there's a
contributing
connection.
I think she is. I'm with
a
Darryl.
rise in murder rates?
Well, yeah, our cameras have been pulled out altogether in Albuquerque for 6 years. So there's no pictures of them running off the scene. You know what I'm talking about? If it was done in a car, they're speeding away. They're speeding. They're running red lights. A lot of these people that do these, but the whole attitude is like, I'll get away with it, because it's just lawlessness.
It starts with running a red light, Chris, and next thing you know, you're axe murdering your neighbor.
No, she's saying after the fact in the getaway.
Maybe if there were red light cameras,
You
the
would
criminals
get
would be
pictures.
deterred because they'd be on camera leaving the scenes of crime.
But that's not how red light camera. The red light camera is not streaming video all the time of the intersection.
Well, maybe Sarah wants them to.
Sarah would love if there was streaming video of everything outside of her bathroom. Because
if you murder somebody, okay, look at they were in the parking lot. Somebody was trying to steal a car. So when the owner came out, he shot the guy. So how is he going to get away? He gets in the car and he speeds off, runs off, running red lights and speeding. So he's going to be caught somewhere.
If he's in any commercial parking lot, he's got cameras on him. I guarantee you.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. But this whole attitude of we're not going to see nothing. You could break law. In fact, you know something? A lot of these criminals, they get caught for speeding on the freeway. That's how they get caught. They pulled over, and next thing you know, they got like 15 warrants, and they're wanted. That's how all of these people get caught.
Yeah, nobody said that criminals were always the smartest people. That's why they do get caught.
Right, but the argument that if you have a total surveillance state that you will be able to stop crime has never borne itself out.
Look at London.
Look at London still has a high murder rate. It's not all guns, but it's all sorts of different things. You can look at countries that were in the Soviet bloc where surveillance was pervasive everywhere, and they still had high murder rates. You can look at Chicago. Chicago is very much a surveilled city. And
there are another 500,000 CCTV surveillance cameras in London.
Yeah, it's amazing.
4.2 million in all of the UK. We're talking about a country with 30 million people, and there are 4.2 million cameras.
Yep, but it doesn't stop murder. And I was reading another article, which was, I don't know if I brought this one in for the show, but 2016, the homicide rate went up across the country. And it turns out that a third of those murders you can trace back to 5 neighborhoods in Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah. The 1/3 of that entire increase was that.
Well, another thing is that 15% of it, 15 of these were homeless people. So there is just this attitude that it's okay to kill and to hurt homeless people for whatever circumstances.
Are you talking about the Albuquerque Police Department?
Well, I'm talking about the people that were murdered were about 15 of them were homeless people. So a lot of these homeless people are getting murdered not by the police, but
Did that not happen in Albuquerque, or am I thinking of somewhere else?
No, that was Albuquerque. I know which one you're talking about. The guy that was camping.
Well,
and the Albuquerque police shot and killed him.
Well, no, I'm talking about the 75 people. I'm talking about regular people. I'm talking about the 75 people that were killed this year.
Right.
Them were homeless people.
Right,
So
and Chris's question was, of the 15 or 16 homeless people that were killed, how many of those were killed by police in Albuquerque?
None of them. They're killed by who knows.
Not this year.
Who killed them?
It's tragic, and I don't mean to make light of that. I think it's murder itself is horrible when it's murder put on people that have nowhere else to go, can't defend themselves. Right. They're in a horrible place. My heart really goes out to them. But I don't think the implementation of a surveillance state is going to stop that.
Right, and there's a lot of evidence to suggest that you're correct. Again,
I'm pretty sure it was one of the New Mexican body broker companies that was chopping people up with a chainsaw.
Again, Greater London, 500,000 CCTV cameras, all of the UK, 4.2 million. There's still murder that happens in the UK. There's still murder that happens in London. There's still crime that happens over in the UK.
But Sarah, would you consider moving to England? Would you live in London?
No, you know what? That place is a little bit too cloudy for me. I like all of the sunshine. So I'm willing to put up with the crime here. But I'm just bringing it up that we need to get our death penalty back here in New Mexico.
Interesting. Do you think that would do it? Because death penalty, it's been questionable whether it's actually contributed to lower homicide rates.
Well, you know what I mean? We had lower homicide rates when we had the death penalty in place. We never executed anybody except once every 20 years.
Well, that would certainly generate the state some money in body brokering.
Right, but again, that's the correlation versus causation. Can you say that the death penalty actually lowered those murder rates?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Our death penalty got repealed about 10 years ago.
Right.
So when we still had the death penalty, that was 20 years ago, our murder rate has been going down. So that's a correlation. When we had them, it was way lower than 75.
Right. The question is was that the actual cause? What my concern is with the death penalty is how many times we're hearing about now. It's every week or two. We're hearing about another case where someone who was on death row has been released because DNA evidence or some other evidence proved that they were absolutely innocent.
Yeah, we're now up to 199 people having been released from death row, the vast majority because of DNA evidence. The other sizable percentage because of bad witnesses that later recounted, I never saw anything. That's it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow.
If you're looking for work, the person you are applying to is probably so swamped with applicants that he or she is tough to reach. So call early in the day, before 8 a.m., before the palace guards arrive. You'll need your prospects direct